Canada's inflation rate slows to 3.4%, which is the lowest it's been in 2 years. So do we start the party? Are rate cuts coming? Is everyone going to be okay? Well, no, we're not there yet, but let's talk about what this means in today's video. My name is Tom Storey. I run a real estate team here in downtown Toronto, and this channel is focused on housing. So my opinions on this new inflation number are going to be specifically focused on housing, but we are going to talk about other factors like groceries and gas and everything else like that. But I'm not going to play pretend economist today. I'm going to tell you what I understand. And then if there's other things you're interested in on the inflation side of things, there's other great channels on YouTube you can go to. If you do like this video, all I ask is hit that thumbs up button. I would really appreciate it, and make sure to subscribe and join our growing community. We're just off the heels of Bank of Canada increasing the rates another 0.25% in June. And that was based off inflation slowly creeping up from the month before. But what we're talking about today is 1 month later, inflation is down almost 1 full point. And I think that's going to surprise a few people, but is mostly based on gasoline prices. If you take the gasoline prices out of this, inflation would be back to 4.4%. A few other things to discuss. Bank of Canada has been very clear from the beginning. Inflation needs to get to 2%. So we're at 3.4%. So we're still not there, but this is an encouraging sign. And I don't think today's news is going to stop them from maybe doing another quarter point increase in July to get the overnight rate to 5%. I think that's very much still a possibility. But let's go over the article and show you exactly what is happening with inflation here in Canada. Okay, so Canada's inflation rate slows 3.4%, lowest level in almost 2 years, mostly due to gasoline, as most other aspects are still going up fast. So let's take a look at what they're saying here in the article, and I'm going to show you the actual chart because I think this data is very interesting. It's a significant slowdown from the 4.4% that we saw in April. So we're now at 3.4%. So that's a nice 1 point drop to round it off. Gasoline prices were the single biggest reason. If gasoline is stripped out, the inflation rate would be back to 4.4%. So just keep that in mind. Gasoline prices being down on average more than 18% is what changed these inflation numbers. But beneath the headline slowdown for consumer prices in many facets and the cost of living are still increasing at an eye-watering pace. So we are not out of the woods yet. Grocery prices went up 9%. That is barely less than the 9.1% we saw last month. And food prices have been increasing at a faster pace than official inflation rates now for a year now. But what we're going to focus on the most in this video is the cost of keeping a roof over one's head continues to rocket higher. The mortgage interest rate index rose 29.9%. That's the fastest pace on record. And it's happening because variable rate mortgage holders are seeing their rates go up, and fixed rate loans that have renewals are going to pay at a much higher cost. On the rental side of things, rent increased 5.6% in the last year, and overall shelter costs went up by 4.7%. Let's take a look at this graph and show you how we got to this point. So let's go back here to January 2020, okay? The new year started. We were all feeling good. We were starting the roaring 20s, and we didn't know what was coming next, right? 2.4% inflation. That's good. That's kind of where we want it to be. Then something happened in March. We all know what happened in March, and inflation actually went negative. Then it jumped up a little bit and then slowly started creeping. Now, the economy was fueled with money from the government, and everyone can have their opinions on that. But here's what happened. We kept going, and then we hit peak inflation of 8.1% in June of 2022. What happened in March of 2022? The first rate hike that we saw. And then they just kept happening. But it is working, and it's going to continue to work. Now, we saw this downward trend for a long time, and that's why you eventually saw rate pauses happen in early 2023. Until March, where we are at 4.3%, and then April at 4.4%. But right now, we are at 3.4%. Now, to get back to this magic number around 2, we still have a little bit to go. Now, even if we get back to that magic number, it doesn't mean rates are just going to drop over time. What's going to happen is if they get back to 2%, it's going to have to stay at 2% for probably like 6 months before you see any changes in the rates. And something that we have to talk about as well as we talk about the housing costs, increasing rates pushes variable rates up, and it has impacted the bond market as well. So whether you're taking fixed or variable, the cost of home ownership is more, even with the prices down, which is something I've been trying to get across for a long time. We haven't solved anything for affordability. Affordability has just become worse. Yeah, the purchase prices less than it was before, but the monthly payments are not. That's impacting inflation as well. So it's kind of this counterproductive thing. They have to raise the rates to get everything else under control, but it is increasing the housing costs as well, and that's going to be in there also. If we get to 2% at some point, it's going to have to hover there for a period of time. And when the rate decreases do start to come, because Bank of Canada's key rate is between 2 and 3, and they're currently at 4.75. If we get to 2%, for it to get back to that point, it's going to be slow. It's going to be quarter point. I doubt you're going to see 50 basis points or a full point on the way down like we saw on the way up. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new today. I'd love to know how you are feeling about Canada as a whole right now with the economy, with the inflation, with the job numbers and everything else that's happening. I'd love to know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Tom Storey, and remember, home is where your story begins.